Are we recording? Wake up. It is 2025. Broadcasting from an unusually sunny day here in Berlin, Germany. Welcome back and Happy New Year. Another day, another hour, another minute, another second. What will you do next? Gigi Ballard. What is it? My concern is for the next 5 minutes. Welcome back. Artist Journal, January 2nd, 2025. Broadcasting from the inner half of the nervous system. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. It continues. So, as we see here, Françoise Gamma starting us off here. Happy New Year. A prolific artist. And there is something to being prolific. It's just a better way of being, I would argue. I was talking to an artist recently who sold for big money and, releases 2 or 3 works a year, and it's just a harder place to be. All the pressure on releasing something that it has to do well in the market. When you release a lot of work, you almost have an excuse. If it doesn't sell, it's like, well, I'm putting out so much work. Eventually it'll go, this sort of thing. Very interesting. So another interesting thing, and sorry, getting distracted here. Another interesting thing is this is on Rodeo. And of course, Rodeo, the platform of the moment, I think we can say, and 121 mints here, and Happy New Year, HNY. So what does that mean? Is it 20, 30 cents? I mean, so 20, let's call it 24 to $35. Not bad, right? Because one of the things, this was brought up, and I think a lot of us, who put art on the blockchain deal with this, is what do I price it at? This whole thing. We came up with Waffle's space. He's like, I just send it to Eilay this time around. I don't even want to think about it. She can keep it. She can resell it. She can do whatever she wants, right? This thing where, if you have a work that sells for a lot of money, what does it mean? Are you somehow doing a disservice if you sell things for cheaper? All of this it's quite a hard algebraic, equation to figure out as an artist, right? So what do you do? The great thing about Rodeo, I would say this. Yeah, okay, it's minting for little money, but you don't have to worry. It's like, no, you don't have pricing control, but maybe that's not a bug. Maybe that's a feature, is kind of the question here, because you just put it out and you don't worry about it. It mints what it mints, and it does it in a certain amount of time, and that's it. So it's kind of interesting, and you get your $30, hopefully, right? Or $50, hopefully. Another thing, I looked at Françoise Gamma's page. Maybe it depends what kind of artist you are. Because if you're pretty prolific, if you're making 5 works a day and you're getting $30 each, well, that's pretty good, right? And maybe better than you can do on, say, Object, perhaps, right? I have to say, I looked at the total rewards that Françoise Gamma had here. Half an ETH is not bad. There are quite a few works here. And if these had been released as one-of-ones on Object, you do wonder, okay, probably could have made $1,800. But nevertheless, quite interesting, isn't it? And maybe it's not either or, maybe it's, as we've long advocated here on this show, maybe it's just a matter of all of the above, right? Mint on everything. So make sure everything is working here. Look at how cool this is. So this is Françoise Gamma as well, with Andre Oliveira Cebola, also an artist we've shown on the show. Pretty nice work, isn't it? Great collab. Taking Françoise Gamma's kind of iconic walking figure here and adding some looseness, some here even. Again, I kind of back to the whole, it's analogous to brushwork. I'd argue what we see here in this looseness, what I get tempted to call roughness, even messiness, but the better word would be, as my friend Mark Liam Smith says, it's looseness, Adrian. It's looseness. Corrects me on. But it's quite great because I would argue maybe a touch of the reluctance of the general public, and I think the general public's warming up to digital art, but maybe part of the reluctance, if you haven't been exposed to much digital art, is it tends to follow the contours. A lot of like digital art, right? And so isn't it refreshing when you get a work like this, these kind of loose works, these painterly works, these textured works, as I like to call them, where all of a sudden it's like, it's not fitting into this almost quasi-academic realistic framework, right? It's loose. There's paint splattering here. There's randomness, right? And it's almost like this randomness component, which we were even, which I was talking about, I think last episode, if I'm not mistaken, which we can almost trace back to like Titian and the first people who were starting to celebrate, who was the Tintoretto, right? These early pioneers, Turner, who were celebrating the brushstroke. Because what does that represent? It's kind of like an incorporation of randomness into the image that you simply, I would argue, do not have in Renaissance painting to a certain, or like pre-Titian, right? Or early, or Giotto, or Cimabue, right? Or, kind of earlier. It's all very, it's not necessarily incorporating randomness as an element of delight. Whereas I'd argue once you start getting the paintbrush stroke and you start seeing the randomness of the brush, you're starting to enter the world of randomness and chance, and wielding that in a way that is quite powerful, as we almost see the apogee of randomness to a certain degree, of incorporating it, like with artists like Robert Rauschenberg, who take that aesthetic of randomness to the nth degree, and voila, you have the, probably impossible to reproduce works for Robert Rauschenberg. Like if he was trying to reproduce the works, his own works, right? So here, that's what I see when I see this kind of like, I see order in the chaos. And I think that's the key. This kind of, I want to call it this universal contrast between order and chaos, dare I say. So wonderful way to, a coffee-infused beginning to our 2025. Beautiful work here. What is this? Edition of 10 for 10 Tezos, one sold. Only one sold, interestingly. So it's interesting, this whole dynamic here, as Rodeo kind of catches a wave here. And actually, there's a whole bunch of things to update. I think people have corrected me on my interpretation of why Rodeo has taken off. It's the secondary, and I think that's absolutely right. I had forgotten about that. The secondary is really when Rodeo started to take off. I got a message on that. We have a comment in the YouTube. We'll see it. But anyways, let's take a look. This almost has a bit of an Apple feel. And, François Gamma, I love the off-color canvas here, background color. It's not white. It's this kind of nice cream, as you can see here. Quite beautiful. Rodeo still needs a maximize button, I would argue. Look how beautiful this is. Just delightful. And how are these doing? 175. I mean, again, if we were to call it 20 cents, that'd be $35. Pretty cool. Here's another one. This is a triangle instead of a square. Again, maybe $30, maybe more. 105 collectors. I mean, there's something to be said here. We have to give credit where credit is due here to Rodeo. I mean, there's 100 collectors, and you do the contrast. Artists, as I always say, follow the liquidity. They're like devs in that respect. Devs follow the liquidity, artists follow the liquidity too. And I actually think that's the healthiest outcome, because the artists will go where they're paid the most. And I think it depends what kind of artist you are. If you're putting out a ton of work, maybe Rodeo does make sense for you financially, right? If you're making $30 a work and you're putting out 5 works a day, that's $150. You have 100 collectors, maybe more all the time. That's pretty interesting. Now, whether the secondary there's a lot of kind of excitement around the secondary at Rodeo. Whether it sticks or not, I think is going to be interesting, because if it's like that in 6 months, you could argue this change in the, put it this way, Rodeo's if they are able to keep kind of an excitement in the secondary for digital art, the secondary market, meaning it's sold once and then it sells again a second time, the secondary, that is pretty that would be pretty big, because it's notorious in the entire art world, is, you know, digital and physical, the liquidity of art is not, it's not the most liquid asset. So if they're able to infuse liquidity into digital art and just make it a little more liquid, that's interesting. So perhaps an innovation there as the scene continues to develop. This was interesting too. So Francois Gamma, I thought this was just a cool kind of post. I mean, look how beautiful this is. This is a post by Francois Gamma showing influence, right? Mark Crawford, 1989, Strange Cube, this like impossible cube. And even the animation is beautifully done. Amstrad computer use. Never heard of the Amstrad computer. This was also a cool work. Of course, this was going around. Pixel art is the purest form of internet culture. Interesting statement. I'm kind of open on this issue. Like it's a grand statement. Let's put it that way. It's an interesting statement. It could be true. I just haven't thought about it enough to have a real opinion on it. Nice piece, though, isn't it? And this is Francois Gamma's website. .cat, I thought was pretty cool. And here this looks like every time you load it, it's different. So we are cruising through this show here. Let's just show you for the sake of argument here. And let's, as you see, you get a different work. Interesting. Very interesting artist. So Francois Gamma, Happy New Year. And let's continue. Synoptic Vision, thank you for the support. Last episode, as it continues here over the holiday season. Human Boy, excellent episodes. Happy for your perspective. Welcome back, Adrian. Thank you. You're in Yakon. These days, your show's coming out kind of unregularly. Yeah, and I hope to fix that today. Everybody is really cheered up when a new journal is there. I'm really nice to hear, and I totally feel it. Your input, at least for me, really influences the way of how all these digital artworks can be seen. And I have to say, I'm a really big fan of how long the videos are. I'm trying to fix that. I'm glad to hear that, though. And, you know, I don't worry about it too much. I mean, there's a Joe Rogan show. I mean, how long is that? Like 3 hours, right? So, but I think for ultimately, I want to grow this show beyond the bubble, is where I'm at. And I think by putting it out more frequently and in shorter doses, that will be helpful to the show, and I think it'll be less onerous. And I think I'll just make a lighter show, but maybe in a good way. Let's see. The format of these long videos creates something very important, a space of contemplation, not just for you, but also for everybody watching and listening. And contemplative perception is really something in all the down scrolling and time optimization included in social media. Yeah, there is a place to just, I'm glad to hear that. The struggles to find spaces in digital environment. And especially in the context of art, it is important to create meaningful forms of perception. Thanks for the final show of this year, and all the best for an exciting 2025. Yeah, you bring up really beautiful, interesting, profound points. What I like about this show ultimately, like from my own perspective, it's kind of like the same reason I make art, one of the reasons. It is a space of freedom. And isn't it fun that you kind of have like, at least for myself, it's fun in the sense that I can just, it's a place of freedom where I can say what, my take, in a sense, that's where this whole show kind of originated from, at a different view that frankly was not being represented from my own perspective, that I didn't see anywhere. And so I just started, it's like, so just like doing an artwork, I'm not working for anybody for this show. I'm the CEO of this show. So I can just free reign. So freedom, it's nice to have a free voice on these matters and not owe anyone and have to do anything and anything. So I'm glad you're enjoying it, and wonderful work, Uran. Last show, hope to see more. And I love how reasonably priced those one-of-ones are. Nicholas Dietrich, hey, thanks so much for the mention, Adrian. The building in the background is actually real and is in Finland. So if you remember Nicholas Dietrich's kind of cool, enigmatic pixel artwork, That's a real, that's hilarious because it's pretty esoteric, the shape of that building. Interesting you mentioned editions of one. I'll have to think about it. Yeah. It's kind of like I was talking about waffles on ordinals. I see dollar signs. I also see dollar signs of Nicholas Dietrich one of ones. They're beautiful canvases, is how I kind of think of Nicholas Dietrich's work. So big shout out. Thanks for the comment. Illusion T Soul. Exactly. We'll be making art no matter the market. It's quite the way. That's true. There are people such as, like, I will not stop making art. Put it this way. Contemporary art world's pretty difficult. There are still a lot of artists. Artists keep making art. Despite success or no success, some just have the calling and put it this way. I mean, another way of putting it, I was asked last night, why do you make art? It's sort of like it's meaningful activity, is kind of how I put it. I mean, I'm pretty skeptical on how much we do is, actually quote unquote meaningful. And so making art for me is meaningful activity in the sense that maybe in 100 years, it's still like worth paying attention to. Whereas, your typical work in an office is not necessarily going to be, 100 years from now, people discussing the merits of your, email that you sent. So it's kind of like meaningful activity, interestingly. So I think that's part of what drives artists to make no matter the market. Thank you for the comment. Roon Toon, I forgot to look up Sam Doyle after the show, that wonderful artist that influenced Hasdrubal Waffle. That's so wild, and how in sync the Doyle Waffle style is. One thing that always attracted me to Waffle's work is that I never had any idea where to point in terms of influences. Outside of the pop culture references used frequently in his work, I think that's part of the reason he's kind of a difficult artist. Because at least for me, I was slow to Waffles. Because it was like, what is it took me a while to kind of understand the paradigm, so to speak. Waffles was always so unique that I didn't have a point of reference. Doyle, cool. Yeah, that was a great space. Roon Toon, of course, the co-host of Artist Journal Live on Wednesdays. Static Drama, Digital Art Rockers, thank you for the comment. Static, great to hear from you. Stuart Reed. For me, the Zora to Rodeo switch happened slowly over time. So noticing there was a switch due to the high quality of art on Rodeo and seeing less Zora mints from people I follow. Then all at once, they added the secondary market. And this really was the key. So thank you for the comment. I got a message too on that. It was the secondary market where Rodeo blew up. So it wasn't about a botched airdrop from Zora. It was about a secondary market really taking off. The Rodeo secondary is really smooth. I don't think the airdrop helped, though. I mean, in a sense, the timing couldn't have been worse because that's when Rodeo started the secondary, I think. The Rodeo secondary is really smooth and nice and getting active. Zora never succeeded at that from my perspective. I've bought amazing stuff for 5x and 10x offers and seen a few 100x, but expect more coming. So it is interesting. Again, I'm really curious, like in 6 months, is it going to be still as active? Because if it is, then they're bringing a real, I guess you'd call it a primitive sort of market structure to the space. Could be super interesting. Let's see. Thank you for the comment and the explanation. Appreciate that. Rada Yonki, Happy New Year, sir. Thanks for sharing my work. Well, it's always a delight to hear from Rada, and what a great artist. One of probably the artists that got me on Tezos. It was Rada that got me on Tezos so I could pick up one of his works, and then it was Haiti Rockette's collection who got me collecting and taking that blockchain and seeing how incredible the art is. Roon Toon, I don't love the acronym NFT either, but when you're talking about non-digital art people, about minting art on the blockchain, is there any specific language you use to describe art on the blockchain, and what goes with the art culture around NFT platforms? Yeah, so I call it a digital art show. I'll go to tokenized art. It's art, with crypto. And then if people drill me down on it, I will use the word NFT. I'm not a purist about it. The problem with the word NFT, it's a PR issue, I would argue. Like, remember the Taschen book, right? And a lot of great artists in there, but there's also a lot of stuff in there that I don't, like, put it this way. I don't want to say it's an NFT show and then people think of the Bored Ape Yacht Club in terms of visual. Like, I'm doing a art show. And that was a cultural thing and had its merits it was a crypto thing, right? The Bored Ape Yacht Club, just as an example. But it's not like I want to, Like, I mean, a lot of people I didn't care for the illustrations, for example, of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, nothing against it or anything, but, just from a purely aesthetic art perspective. So I don't want to start saying I'm doing an NFT show and then people are thinking the Taschen book, okay? Like, and some great stuff in the Taschen book, but a lot of stuff that, frankly, I don't want people to think I'm talking about, and I don't talk about. So that's kind of the issue with the actual technicality. Non-fungible token to me is like totally legit, but like it's what it is. The very technical word, but yeah. So that's where I kind of go with just digital art on the blockchain. And I'll say tokenized art. And again, if people still don't understand, I will use the word NFT to try and explain. But after I made it very clear, the situation. Anyways, thanks for the support on last show. Awesome audience here. Ilay, don't hassle the Hoff. Happy New Year, Adrian. You've taken the risk. Here's to more adventure. Yeah, I think brain dead. Thank you, Ilay, and Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you for all the support over all this time. Braindead actually wrote a comment on the "you're not taking enough risks." Like, I don't know if I'm taking enough risks. Like, or when are you taking enough? And it depends what kind of risk you take. In a sense, like, I don't think it's worth taking huge risks if it risks your health or bodily harm. But I do think it's worth, if it doesn't affect that, then I think, we don't, and I include myself in that, or to overgeneralize, then we don't take enough risk, I would argue. Generally speaking. Of course, there's exceptions to this. Thank you for the comment. And yeah, always. And I think artists inherently know this, because what's interesting about risk and chance is kind of associated with risk, and we're just discussing chance, is how often it works. And artists, I'd argue, who incorporate chance into their process are aware of this, at least on a certain level, of how bizarre it is, how often taking risk and using chance, how often it works. And it's almost like the analogy is, when you have music playing and the TV is on with the sound down, and all of a sudden everything seems to be syncing. It's like a phenomenon, right? But to me, that's just a demonstration of how the universe, how chance, it's just another example of how chance works surprisingly often. So if things are, as long as you're not putting yourself at risk in a health way, it is worth taking a lot of risk, I would argue, from other perspectives. I mean, all within context of whatever you're doing, of course, at least in the art sphere. Let's put it that way. In the creative sphere. Little Cakes, thanks for all your work in 2024. Thank you, Cakes. Appreciate that. Human Boy, awesome. Excited to give a watch and dive in. Happy holidays. Thank you, Human Boy. We have a work by you, actually, this episode. Leo66, great to hear from you. Happy New Year. Meji Jaladad, I love your jacket, Heads Pilot. Thank you. A little bit of a holiday look there. Skull Takes, yeah, you're back. Got to get some work. Got to get some coffee. Awesome. Love the Muppets there. Great to hear from you. August Ground, glad that you picked that piece up. I did. 75 Tezos for a cap and 1 of 1 on chain. Beautiful work. I just went to see if it was still listed. Levon Yonke, awesome to hear from you. Cheers to you. Trippy Collector, wow, welcome back, Adrian. Great news to see. Yeah, I hope it's regular as of today. August Ground, I see yellow on gray. I see New Frontiers. Hilarious. As I told August, I knew you'd understand. Pedro Jose, welcome back just in time for my coffee. Awesome. And Perexino, we didn't have a chance to get to talk and meet a little yet, but want to thank you for all you do for Tezos artists and for loving the art the way you do. You're a precious family member of this big creative community of Tezos, and I wish health and best for 2025. Well, thank you, Peruzino. And this is a multi-chain show, as I've said from the start, but it is, based, and it always has been based, I would say, on the art on the Tezos blockchain. It's notifications, really, which need to be fixed on Object, which I've been saying for months here. Maybe I can do a demo and show that this episode. Tamas Antel, thanks a lot. Great to hear from you. Beautiful collab there with Manidal. Jan Lucas Magone, Happy New Year. August Ground, deskilling indeed, or as you put it eloquently, shifting aesthetic philosophies. The long and venerable tradition of pictorial realism had a day of reckoning with the invention of the camera. And now further complicated by AI to a certain degree, there's a parallel history of the rough-hewn, the poor image that is quite captivating. It is quite interesting, isn't it? Again, we're almost talking about coloring within the lines. is almost where we're going here, or at least the erasure of contour, right? It's quite interesting. I also gave the problem with my object bookmarks not being by the most recent and loved the Sam Doyle work, wasn't familiar with his influence on Basquiat. Yeah, that's according to Waffles, but it makes sense to me. Paula Cordera, Happy New Year. Thank you. Happy New Year, Paula. Bosque Gracias. Totally love talking about this artist journal as a digital art showcase. Fully agree about NFT is so retro. You say it. Don't stop doing this. Love. Great to hear from you, Bosque. Great seeing you this last summer. Lips in Black. Great to hear from you, Quab. Thank you for the comment. Zuzil Yang, thank you for watching. And Trippy Collector with a beautiful work here by Tamas Antelart. Using M-props. Beautiful work. I need to use M-props. Anis Abdin has completed a year of pixel art works, 365 works over 365 days. Incredible. Average number of colors per piece, 12. So a huge feat of self-discipline here from Anis Abdin, who we've had on the Spaces. I actually invited Anis for the first, but he had family obligations. And of course, New Year's Day, a tricky day, but I was like, it's quite an accomplishment that Anis Abdin has done. I've been drawing an artwork every day since the beginning of 2024, only one more day to go. And so there it is. Beautiful green sunset, malachite, very cool, and is continuing. Mission accomplished, 366 animated pixel artworks in 2024. Day 66, build pixel art, 8 colors. And there is what looks like a woodpecker in the forest. Amazing. And it's doing incredible on Instagram. I think it has 30,000 followers, if memory serves. And here's just I think we saw this one in an earlier episode, just a classic with the squirrel in front of the red light there. One of the few, if not the only one that was minted. Only a few were minted, interestingly. Cableen, my work at Object will be coming to an end in 2 months. So Cableen, prominent curator on Object on the Tezos blockchain, is leaving in 2 months. I am deeply grateful for all these wonderful years and the amazing team I had the pleasure to work with. I will continue to share art on this Twitter account, of course, so not disappearing, but will not be with Object in 2 months. So yeah, we'll have to see if Cableen wants to come back on the program, or Ombeline, as her real name is. So best of luck to Cableen, Ombeline. Big shout out and a happy new year, and best of luck in the new adventure. Artie Hands, if you're here for on-chain, ordinals. If you're here for provenance, Ethereum. If you're here for art, chain agnostic. Indeed. So as we've always said here, multi-chain. And as we saw, say, with Ed Marola last episode, I think it was, on Rodeo, all of a sudden, there's a joy to coming to a new blockchain. It's kind of like a fresh page. You can start a new kind of series, different kind of feel. We saw those crayon works. Very cool. Sabato, art curation. Let's actually look at the comment first that Sabato is commenting on by Barrett Cremo. Art curation by AI agents that have zero bias will get super interesting. What eye will they have for aesthetics, beauty, and color theory? Will they become more inclusive than the current echo chamber? It's an interesting question. It's been brought up a few times, these AI agents and their ability to curate art. Let's see what Sabato has to say. Art curation by AI agents is literally Web 2. How do you think Instagram, Tumblr, YouTube recommendation algorithms work? At this point, many people are just advocating for the spottification of visual arts and private ownership of these information vectors, which only harms artists. So it's a good point. I mean, this is, of course, the classic. I don't know if we do. I mean, this is what Rodeo has been called many times. I think I've called it that, as well as many other people. That is the concern with Rodeo. But as we saw with Françoise Gamma, and we can look at Waffles and Myth here in a second. I mean, it does like $1,800. And we looked at the sales versus Rodeo versus Object. It's an interesting question. It's a very interesting question. And just the number of collectors. So, I try not to be dogmatic here. And so now in terms of AI agents, I completely agree with Sabato. I put it this way. I think it'll be limited. In a sense, like, you can get algorithms pretty good to find what you like, right? But but how is it going to be for finding new artists that are pushing new frontiers? I think that'll be more challenging. I'm not convinced that AI can do that. At least not yet. I'm not convinced it has. It's kind of like inspiration. Like, what is that spark of inspiration? Does it exist in AI? Like, not yet. That's for sure. But but I didn't take AI art seriously at the start, or like I was very skeptical. Let's put it that way. And now I'm a huge advocate. So it goes. Yuri J. I finally see why broken notifications on object is real meta. It is a reminder that collecting is a hard task and not for everyone. So it's got to be fixed. So let me see if I can actually. So here is some of my notifications here, and then let's say, I want to open this. So I'm kind of I'm doing the equivalent of right click. Let's see, okay, seems to be working. Well, it seems to be working, doesn't it? Why is this working now? Let's see now, because you'll be, there we go. You'll be scrolling down, and then you pick a work, and often that'll happen in here too. And I can't even load the notifications here. This is, I believe, what people are talking about. I would have thought it was just my browser or something to do with my wallet, but now other people are talking about it. And so there is an issue with notifications on object that needs to be fixed. I hope that demonstration helps. And continuing on, here's Mirakit. Out in IRL, in real life. And so pretty cool at some Mirakit works, nice and large. Looks pretty cool, doesn't it? IRL in real life. Mirakit, even like a waving sheet there. As we go into the works, and look at this awesome Yuri J. A gorgeously textured work here. As you see, kind of looks like Santa. I mean, it's pretty amazing. The shape here, all of it, like the texture, the color, the dynamism, the originality. Again, I'm kind of back to these textures. Like, there's something gorgeous about this, isn't there? And here's an earlier version. You can see it was flipped over, right? With the house over here, and then Santa and the sleigh, the octopus over on the left. That has been switched over from a previous version of the work where you see here, and then you see it's coming together, and then finally we have this wonder here. So beautiful work from Yuri J. Here's another work, just nice texture here from Yuri J. Kind of looks like an abstract, very painterly. Here's Waffles, Hasdrubal Waffle on Rodeo, 195 mints. And again, let's call it 20 cents. Like, that is $40, maybe even more. 40, 45 bucks if I had to guess. So, and pretty cool work here too. Kind of looks like I guess a saxophone player here, and there's the princess in the window. A modern day Romeo and Juliet, perhaps. I don't know. Here's some bricks in the background, kind of like we saw in the Comedy Club. And all sorts of interesting contrasts here. Here you see what looks like a stamp tool, combining it, a celebration of digital mark making, really, is one way of framing this, and all mixed together. So you get the contrast to this hard-edged pixel art, stamp-looking thing, but then you get the brushwork, all combining here. Pretty nice work from Waffles. Here's another one, Tom Hanks in situ. We saw how Roon Toon was discussing how Waffles likes to use pop references is what I meant to say. 198, so another 40 bucks. So it solves the pricing issue, doesn't it? You just post it, and then you get 30 cents, and people collect very freely because it's only 30 cents. Don't want to be dogmatic on Rodeo. Like, I am warming up to this model. Let's see how it plays out. But here again, 211. If Waffles is putting out like a work or two a day, or 3 works every 3 days, and is bringing in like, $150, doesn't have to think about the pricing. There's something to be said for that. 70 collectors, that's pretty good, right? Here's the work. And again, just combining different things. Probably looks like it was pretty quickly put together. This brush in the background, just filling things in, put a figure, a window. Again, just doodling. Very cool work there. Here's another one, 191 mints, 92 collectors. So pretty interesting Bobbit. Maybe that's the reference to Lorena Bobbitt way back when. But that was like a 90s CNN news story. That's a classic. At the time of O.J. Simpson and that whole trial. For those that are old enough to remember. Here is The Myth on Rodeo as well. Beautiful work here. So posting on Rodeo and this beautiful crimson, you have to love the color in this jacket. So nice, classic, original Myth work here. Even the smile on the face, on the mask. Great, great, great work from The Myth. And that is still open to mint. 108 minted so far. And you can still collect and everything. So cool work there from The Myth. And let's just take a look here. We saw how François Gam. So Myth just started recently, bringing in $127. Let's say there's 5 works. Let's call it $25 each. Okay, so not incredible, but not terrible either. And also exposing yourself to a bunch of other collectors. Again, how many collectors? So again, artists follow the liquidity, and they're getting new collectors, 61 collectors. I mean, how many collectors are buying Myth's work on object, right? Now, 2 objects credit. Again, just trying to be as objective as I can on this. Untitled, beautiful work here by Myth. Kind of looks like a Microsoft Paint work, not a Procreate work. You can tell the difference. Like this looks like more like Microsoft Paint, I assume. And nice small work too. Beautiful work. Sold for $100. So made on this one work, $125, and made for the 5 works. So you have to ask, from a purely financial perspective, Myth is probably better off an object. But there are a lot of collectors, and maybe the secondary pays off over time. So interesting. And again, it's good to not be just, I would argue, it's good to be multi-chain is sort of my philosophy on this. So just interesting to see how this all falls out. Ezra Eslin. This, I'm not sure. I assume this is on Foundation, but not positive on that. Privately sold to Eternal Pepe. Watch it before it ends. So here, great work, contemporary illustration by Ezra Eslin. And again, blood everywhere, money everywhere, crashed car, and the phone interface on top. So pretty cool as usual from Ezra Eslin, I believe out of Turkey. Voodoo Salad, Pure Bar. This is 10 minted here, and this is on Rodeo as well. Just a cool illustration. Came across. Kind of looks like a beach bar somewhere in the tropics. Cool work there. Roon Toon. Delicious Slop. So kind of illustration. I think this also uses physical and digital collage, as you see here. So interesting combo from Roon Toon on Object. This is part of a series called Shrapnel. And Roon Toon up to something here. Putting out a lot of work and just doing one-of-ones for $5. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's great. Again, prolificness is it's freeing. And there's a credibility that comes with prolificness too, I would argue. So here is from a series called Shrapnel. Here, a few different versions of DMT 1 through 5. Here's 1, phase 1, edition of 1, and there it is. So interesting, just kind of what look like variations on an original composition here, right? Seemingly, at least with the DMT one. So cool work from Roon Toon. Interested to see where this goes. Time, also known as Santiago. This is AI, pixel art, and painting. Incorporating some older work from Santiago here, or Time. Interesting AI abstract here as we zoom in and see this vectorization and reprocessing of work, edition of 20, 2 sold on Object. Some beautiful works by RJ here, Winter Nights, as we cruise through this show. AI pixel painting and dithering GIF. So gorgeous textures here with RJ continuing to make stunners here, and look at this. So now merits to object here. So again, what is the moral of this story from my perspective? Here, RJ is bringing in, a quick $125 US. The moral of this story is multi-chain, right? There are collectors on multiple chains, and here, there's more than one, solution here. Look at how beautiful this is. This is an edition of 1. This one's still available, but you'll see, I'm sure it'll go, right? And you'll see all these other works here, edition of 5, also bringing in $125. These are all minted on the same day. So bringing in, significant revenue. What's 5 times 4? 20. 125 times 4 is $600, and we'll see if the 5th one sells for $750. Beautiful work, in a sense, very reasonably priced, I would say. Here's another one. These kind of almost impressionistic looking works using AI, I'm sure, for composition, seemingly AI pixel painting and dithering. 6 frames. Here's another one. Beautiful here. Almost looks like a hedge or some sort of interesting crop. Beautiful, beautiful work by RJ. Water Castle Variations. That one is still available. Here is Zozo. 8 Tezos. I love the green background there. Is stunning. Again, looks like a 1x2 pixels there. Kind of a campsite with a campfire. Fascinating. Fascinating work from Zwozo, and how, still doing well. 2, 4, 6 sold at 8 Tezos, $10 each. So markets, I'd say the digital art market's doing fabulous. I mean, we're seeing artists making money selling digital art regularly. This is awesome. Nov 1914, edition of 1. It's getting very attractive pricing from Nov 1914, 12 Tezos, $15 for 1 of 1. Cool experimentation here from Nov 1914. Here is a more traditional work by Nov 1914. What looked like a couple of swans. Here, December 24th, edition of 5 for 5 Tezos, 2 sold. Some work by Hermipe, pixel art. So what is this? Let's open the translation here. Akita Shinsei Brewery, number 6, New Year's type design. Love this white on gray, kind of a classic, I want to say, pixel art move. You do see it sometimes in traditional painting, but it seems to work really well in pixel art. This is the New Year's sake carefully made using the old-fashioned method, and I actually prefer the warehouse in Akita Prefecture, so not sure what this is referring to. Beautiful work here, as usual, from Hermipe. A flower. So another beautiful work here. Here's a lily flower to keep the bad scent away. So out of Japan, Hermipe pixel art to keep the bad scent away. And I think that's a gray in the background, but not positive. And then a couple of white pixels in there. Interesting work. Continuing on, here's Element Lee. Daily pixel art. So another artist that puts out daily work. And look at how cool this is. Kind of looks like a snowflake within a box. Really interesting artist, Element Lee. Here is Strano Abundanza. So with some interesting pixels here, they kind of look painted in. I think Sabato retweeted this one. Beautiful work here. Nice gray background, light gray background. And I think Tornado retweeted this one and picked one up. Vector Flesh number 2, edition of 20. And who did this? We will look at the artist in a second. So just made of plus signs, these almost cartoon characters. Y is the artist, decoded identity. Very cool. Here's Lorna Mills, oscillating incubator. Interesting crop here, bringing, it looks like tree and fire. Green background, edition of 30. And still doing quite well here, as you can see. Selling 15 at almost $30 each. Nice take for Lorna Mills on object. So another Kiro. This is on Foundation. This, I believe, is this with Ranix steer, as we see in the description here. So Ranix steer and Kiro. That's what I thought. So cool collab here. Again, Ranix steer is probably gradients with probably video processing by Kiro. Dexend. Cool title. Here's Haiti Rocket Shutdown. This is a rad work, isn't it? So beautiful work here from Haiti Rocket. Classic, kind of whimsical internet artist here. Edition of 25 and selling, all transferred. Pretty cool. Maybe to previous collectors as gifts. Very nice. Rare limited, and this is an edition of 35. So more Nintendo glitch ROMs and just classic, the messaging and everything. Like Haiti Rocket definitely puts a stamp on the work and on the glitch ROMs. Here's another one with The Simpsons. Again, just very internet light in a great way, very internet friendly. And this was transferred, but edition of 1. So maybe transferred to this one person and transferred around, interestingly. Not sure what happened there. Ray Kurtmas, number 20 for 2024. So beautiful Christmas greeting from the Kurt Hustle Collective. So that is an edition of 25 and selling for Tezos each. Here's Okazakito Mohiro. And how are we doing for time here? 45 minutes, not bad. Kind of a cool work here. Kind of looks like AI and kind of poetic with the match going underwater. And a flat match at that, and then maybe getting larger. So it kind of looks like AI video, doesn't it? Here's Neural Divine. It's kind of a wild textured work with some pixelation. I think this is AI. Not positive on that. Here is Human Boy. Happy New Year. So cool work by Human Boy. Thank you for sending me a couple. Here it is. Playing with the flashing. And remember the huge numbers Human Boy was getting on X. So Happy New Year. Human Boy Time, also known as Santiago. How can you even know NFTs are real? And so cool kind of illustrative looking AI artwork. Love these kind of areas of negative space. Just interesting. And so cool AI artwork from Santiago. As we go into the physicals here, cool dice. Tim Lahan. Interesting. Different renditions of dice, even a hole in that work there. Let's continue. Exene Karos. Very interesting original painting. It's Not Gallery posting that. Wild painting. Very original. Here's Babashich Matiha. Beautiful looking canvas here. I guess that's throwback to 2021. Here is Bondozo Bandido. Putting out a ton of work, very prolific artist. Kind of a different kind of work on this one. In the background, Wondering. Here's Kate Mary Art, beautiful looking work on Instagram. Physical here. And also here's Nugget Brain, just awesome sticker packs. Beautiful, beautiful artwork as usual from Nugget Brain. Love these works. Kind of almost looking like half sculpture, half painting. Look how big they are. Like sculptural paintings. Here's another awesome work. More awesome works from Nugget Brain. Just a great, great artist. Making it look so easy. These wonderful works, probably made fairly quickly and just look awesome. So collectible. Love the sports. Yeah, so just awesome. And here is Die With The Most Likes. Cool painting here. Made a couple of days ago. And that is on Instagram. And David Hales, Happy New Year. A beautiful watercolor and ink drawing painting from David Hales. Happy New Year to you. And thank you. So thank you for joining me. And how are we doing here? 48 minutes. I'm thrilled. Until next time, my friends, have a great one and take care.